she met a stranger by chance. He was the Mafia boss everyone feared. I know how the story sounds from the outside. Girl meets stranger, stranger turns dangerous, girl falls anyway. People hear that and they nod like they already know the ending, like it's a cautionary tale dressed up in silk. They're wrong. This isn't a cautionary tale. It's a confession. I'm telling it from the end, from the part where I already know what he is, what he was capable of, what he ordered done in the dark while the city hummed along to its ordinary life above. I'm telling it from the part where my hands no longer shake when I think about that night on the docks, from the part where I've made my peace with the blood on the periphery of this love. I want you to understand that before we go backward, before I show you the girl I was, the one who didn't know any of this yet, because she was so unbearably innocent. And I need you to forgive her for the choices she made. My name is Serafina Vale. Sarah to anyone I let close enough. I was 27 years old and I lived in a narrow studio apartment in the East Village that smelled of developer fluid and old paper. I restored photographs for a living. Not digital restoration, the real kind. Physical prints, silver gelatin, cracked albumin portraits of people dead for a century. I spent my days breathing life back into the faces of strangers. There is a particular irony in that, which I notice now. I owned a good camera and a mediocre life. I had a best friend named Leora Kane who bartended at a wine bar on the Lower East Side and had the mouth of a sailor and the heart of a saint. I had a studio full of other people's memories. I had no drama, by design. My mother had given me enough drama for a lifetime before she disappeared into a bottle when I was 12, and I had decided very early that I wanted a life as still and controlled as a dark room. No men, no complications, no one who could detonate anything. That was the rule. The night it started, I was leaving a gallery opening in Tribeca. An old college friend had a show, abstract work, too many primary colors for my taste, and I'd gone to be supportive and left when I couldn't breathe through any more small talk. November rain. The kind that doesn't fall so much as materialize, as if the sky is quietly weeping from embarrassment. My camera bag was over my shoulder. I had my phone out trying to pull up the subway map. I turned a corner on a street I thought I knew, and I stepped into someone. Not tripped, not jostled, stepped directly, fully into a human wall. I stumbled back. His hand closed around my elbow before I could hit the wet pavement. Fast, sure, practiced. Like catching things was something he did without thinking. I looked up. He was tall and dark-coated and rain-soaked and looking down at me with an expression I couldn't categorize. Not annoyed, not amused, something quieter than either. His eyes were the color of good whiskey in bad light, and he had a face that had been arranged by genetics and hard living into something almost unbearably compelling. There was a scar at the edge of his jaw, very thin, very old. The kind that meant someone had once tried to put a blade into his face and not quite succeeded. My camera came up on instinct. I don't know why I did it. I hadn't meant to. My hands simply did what they always did when I encountered something I wanted to hold still. They framed it. Shudder. One click in the wet silence. He went very still. "That was unexpected," he said. His voice was low and unhurried, Italian edge underneath the English, worn smooth like riverstone. Not an accent, more like an inheritance. "I'm sorry," I said. "I do that. Reflex. I'll delete it." "Will you?" Not a question, not a threat. Just two words that seemed faintly amused at the idea that I would do anything I said. I pulled my phone out, camera app, and turned the screen toward him and deleted the photo while he watched. He watched my hands, not the screen. I noticed that. "I'm sorry I walked into you," I said again. "You didn't," he said. "I was standing in the dark in the middle of a sidewalk. That's a hazard." He let go of my elbow. My skin remembered his hand for the next 3 blocks. I didn't get his name that night. He walked me to the subway entrance, not because I asked, because he simply turned and walked in the same direction I was walking, and it seemed rude to tell him to stop. 3 blocks in the November rain. He asked what I was doing in Tribeca. I told him about the gallery opening. He didn't ask anything about the photography. At the subway stairs, he stopped. "Good night, signorina," he said, and turned and walked back into the dark. No name, no number, no follow-up. Just those 3 blocks, his hand on my elbow for 2 seconds, and the ghost of his voice in the wet air. I thought about him on the train home. I didn't know why. I thought about the way he'd watched my hands, the scar, the specific quality of his stillness, like a man who has learned to take up exactly as much space as he chooses and no more. I thought, I would have liked to keep that photograph. Then I went home and I developed the role I'd shot at the gallery, and I put the stranger in the dark box in the back of my mind where I kept things I wasn't going to examine. I was very good at that box. I should have been better. If you're already hooked, a quiet subscribe keeps the darkness coming. He appeared again 4 days later. Not on the street, not by accident. He appeared in a photograph. I was working on a restoration commission, a 1940s portrait of a woman in a fur collar, the silver layer lifting at the corners, and I had my work prints pinned to the corkboard above my bench. The gallery roll I'd developed that night. Candid shots of the crowd, the paintings, the wet windows. I almost missed it. 3rd frame from the left, shot through the gallery's front glass from the sidewalk outside, catching the reflection of the street overlaid on the warm-lit interior. And there, in the reflection, not inside the gallery, was the shape of a man standing across the street. Dark coat, hands in pockets, looking directly at the building. Looking, I realized as I held my loupe over it, directly at me. I had walked past him on my way in and never noticed. He had been standing in that spot, watching, and I had been 20 feet away and completely unaware. I sat with that knowledge for a long time. Then I did the reasonable, intelligent thing. I called Leora. "There's a man," I said when she picked up. "Finally," she said. "Not like that. I think he might be watching me." Silence. Then, "Watching you like romantic watching, or watching you like I need to file a report watching?" "I genuinely don't know," I said. "That's the problem." Leora told me to send her a photo of his face if I got one. I told her I had deleted the only photo I'd taken of him. She made a sound that communicated, with impressive economy, exactly how she felt about that decision. He wasn't there the next day, or the day after. Then a white rose appeared on my doormat. No note. Stem wrapped in black ribbon, petals still cold from wherever it had come from. My building had a locked door. He had gotten past it, or paid someone who could. I stood in my doorway holding the rose and felt something that was not quite fear and not quite excitement, and was very much both. I went to Leora's bar that night and told her. "White rose, black ribbon, no note," she repeated, wiping down the bar with the expression of a woman composing her own disaster. That's what I said. "Sarah, baby. Either this man is deeply, disturbingly romantic, or he's the kind of person who communicates in symbols because words leave evidence. Either way." "Either way what?" "Either way, you're already going to see him again. You've got that look." "What look?" She pointed at my face. "That one. The look you get when you're developing something in the dark and you're waiting to see what comes up. You're already hooked, and nothing's happened yet." I told her she was wrong. I went home and put the rose in a glass of water on my windowsill. His name came to me by accident. I was photographing a waterfront property in Brooklyn the following weekend, architectural commission, nothing dramatic, and I overheard 2 men in expensive suits talking on a dock nearby. The kind of conversation that stops when a stranger gets too close. I wasn't close. I had a long lens. I wasn't listening on purpose, but I heard a name. Valtieri's buying the whole block, quietly, the way he does everything. The Phantom doesn't do anything loudly. I didn't know what it meant. I photographed the building and went home. That evening, he called me. A number I didn't know. I almost didn't answer. "Serafina Vale?" he said, not like a question, like he was trying out the weight of my name. "Who is this?" "Someone who's been rude. I left a rose without an explanation." The voice, that low, particular voice. My hand tightened on the phone. "You also watched me go into a gallery without announcing yourself," I said. A pause. Then something that might have been a laugh, very quiet. "I'm told that's a habit I have. I apologize. I wanted to know where you worked." "You could have asked." "I didn't have your number then." "You have it now." "I asked someone." He said it simply, without any apparent awareness that obtaining a stranger's private number was not something most people could simply do by asking. Like it was a minor logistical item, like the world just arranged itself for him. I should have hung up. He asked if he could take me to dinner. I said I needed to think about it. He said he would wait. The way he said it, patient, certain, as if waiting were merely a formality and we both already knew the answer, made something in my chest tighten in a way that had nothing to do with fear. I called him back inside of 20 minutes. I have never pretended otherwise. He chose a restaurant I had mentioned to Leora in passing the week before. Not to him, to Leora, in a text conversation about places we could never afford on a Tuesday night. When I walked in and saw the name on the awning, I stood on the sidewalk for a full 30 seconds. Then I walked in anyway, because I was already there, and because some part of me had already decided that whatever this was, I wanted to see what it looked like up close. He was already seated. He rose when the maitre d' brought me to the table, and he did it the way men who've been trained to do things do them, without thinking, completely, the gesture so automatic it had become character. He was wearing a dark suit, no tie, the kind of ease that expensive tailoring can produce when paired with a body that doesn't particularly need the help. He looked at me the way he had on the sidewalk that first night. That particular quality of attention, complete and unashamed, like I was something worth being careful about. "You found it," he said. I mentioned this place to a friend, in a private text. He didn't flinch. He pulled out my chair. "You should know something about me," he said, sitting across from me. "When I'm interested in something, I learn about it. Everything I can. It's not a threat, it's just the way I'm built." That's either the most honest thing a man has ever said to me, or the most unsettling. Probably both. His name, I learned over 2 hours of wine and food I barely tasted, was Cassian. Just Cassian that night. No last name offered, none asked. He told me he owned commercial real estate, waterfront properties, various investments. He said it the way people say things that are technically true, but structured carefully away from the full picture. And I noted that, but filed it under things I wasn't ready to examine. He asked about my work with the intensity of a man who was genuinely interested, which I hadn't expected. He asked what it felt like to hold a photograph that was 100 years old, what it felt like to restore someone's face, to be, effectively, the last person who would ever look at that face carefully. Like a responsibility, I said, like being trusted with someone's proof that they existed. He was quiet for a moment. Something moved across his expression, not sentimentality, something deeper and less comfortable. "I understand that," he said very quietly. "The weight of proof." I wanted to ask what he meant. I didn't. He walked me home. Not in a car, on foot, which surprised me. 11 blocks through the cold November night, and he walked slightly between me and the street the whole time, without comment, without ceremony. I noticed it. At my building, I turned. "How did you really get my number?" I asked. "I called your restoration studio, told them I had a commission." "That's borderline," he agreed. "I know." "And the rose? The gallery?" "After the night we met, I thought about you. More than I expected to. I wanted to know if it was real or if I'd invented the..." He paused, searching. "The quality you have." "What quality?" "You look at things like they matter." I didn't have an answer for that. He didn't seem to need one. He said goodnight. He did not attempt to kiss me. He walked back the way we had come without looking back, and I stood in my doorway with the cold air on my face and the distinct and alarming feeling that I had just been studied very carefully and found somehow sufficient. 3 more dinners. A Sunday afternoon in a museum, his suggestion, which surprised me, where he stood in front of a Baroque painting for 12 minutes without speaking, just looking, and I photographed him without him noticing and thought, there is more happening inside this person than he will ever voluntarily show anyone. He touched me carefully, a hand at the small of my back, fingers brushing mine when we looked at the same document, the deliberate, considered physicality of someone who understood touch as communication and was choosing each word very precisely. I told Leora I thought I was in trouble. Good trouble or bad trouble? I don't know yet. Both, maybe. Do you know anything real about him? Like his last name? I told her what I knew. Cassian, real estate, waterfront, Italian. Leora looked at me the way she looked at bar patrons who ordered something inadvisable. Waterfront real estate in New York, Italian, won't give a last name, obtained your number through creative means, leaves roses without notes. Sarah. Honey. That's either very old money or very complicated money, and either way it's not simple. I know. And I'm going to see him again on Friday. She poured herself a drink. I took that as acceptance. Friday was when I first saw the gun. We were in the back of his car, black, long, tinted, a driver I never heard speak. He draped his jacket over the seat between us, and when the car took a sharp turn, the jacket shifted, and I saw the holster. Dark leather. The butt of a gun, very matter-of-fact, like a set of keys. My heart did something complicated. I looked at him. He was watching the city pass outside his window. He hadn't noticed me notice. I thought about asking. I thought about what asking would change. I thought about the way he had looked at that Baroque painting for 12 minutes and said nothing, and how that silence had felt like more honesty than most people managed in an hour of conversation. I said nothing. We drove on through the dark city, and I pressed my shoulder against his without meaning to, and he let it stay there the entire ride. That, I think, was the last moment I could have walked away cleanly. I stayed. Comment below. The first warning sign Sarah ignored, the gun. Would you have walked away at that point, or stayed? Tell me below. Leora's mother had a stroke on a Tuesday. I was in my studio when I got the call. Leora's voice, stripped of everything that usually made it Leora's voice, flat and compressed and small. I closed the studio and went to the hospital. Margaret Kane was in the ICU. 61 years old, widowed, no insurance that covered any of what was being said in clipped medical language by people who clearly did not expect good outcomes. Leora sat in the waiting room with her coat still on and her hands folded very precisely in her lap, the way she held herself when she was refusing to come apart. I held her hand. It felt inadequate. The specialist came at 8 that evening and said there was a surgical option, a specific procedure, a particular team, but it was out of network, out of budget, $240,000 out of the realm of anything possible. Leora nodded, said thank you, waited for him to leave. Then she put her face in her hands and made one single sound. I called Cassian without thinking, the way you call someone in a crisis without calculating whether you've known them long enough to deserve the call. It was the 3rd week of November. We had known each other for 3 weeks. He answered on the 2nd ring. Sarah? Just that. Just my name, quiet and awake, as if he had been waiting. I told him what had happened. I didn't ask for anything. I don't know exactly why I called. I think I just needed to hear the specific register of his voice, which had the quality of something built to take weight. At 6 the following morning, the hospital's patient coordinator found Leora in the waiting room and told her there had been a change in the payment arrangement. An anonymous benefactor had covered the procedure in full. Leora called me, speechless. I already knew. I confronted Cassian that afternoon. He was at a warehouse office near the water, not a real office, a space made temporarily functional with a desk and a laptop, and 2 men outside who watched me come in and said nothing. He was on a call when I arrived and ended it without ceremony when he saw my face. You didn't have to do that, I said. I know. That's an enormous amount of money. Yes. Cassian, she's your person, he said simply. You don't have a lot of those. I could fix one thing, so I fixed it. I stood there in that bare, concrete-floored space with the Hudson visible through the dirty windows and tried to find the appropriate response to someone doing something that large and that quiet. Why? I finally said. Not about Leora, about all of it. Him, this, the 3 weeks, the particular care with which he treated me like something worth protecting. He was quiet for a long time, long enough that I thought he wasn't going to answer. Because I have spent 15 years being useful to people who were afraid of me, he said at last. And I wanted to know what it felt like to be useful to someone who wasn't. I sat with that for the rest of the day, with what it meant for someone to say that, and what kind of life had produced a man for whom being feared was simply the operating condition. I was beginning to understand that Cassian Valtieri was not a man with secrets. He was a man who was, himself, a secret. The visible surface, the real estate, the restaurants, the careful attention, that was true. But it was true the way an iceberg's tip is true. Accurate, insufficient. The name surfaced properly 2 days later. I was with Leora at the hospital while her mother was recovering. A television in the waiting room, a local news segment. A reporter standing outside a federal courthouse, speaking in the careful, legally calibrated language of a story that couldn't be proven. Alleged connections, rumored ties, unconfirmed reports. The name Valtieri. A photograph of Cassian at maybe 30, younger, sharper-faced, exiting a building with 2 men behind him who had the specific posture of people who were there to prevent things from happening. The segment said, organized crime, said Manhattan waterfront, said Il Fantasma, a name given by federal investigators to the head of a crime family that had operated quietly and lethally for decades. Said, no successful prosecution. No charges that had ever stuck. Said, the most dangerous man in New York, probably, that most New Yorkers had never heard of. Leora watched the television, watched me watch the television. That's your guy, she said. Yes. The Mafia boss, Il Fantasma, the one who covered my mother's surgery. Yes. She was quiet for a very long time. Sarah, I need you to think very carefully about what you want to do next. I know. Because whatever he's done for us, the people around men like that, I know, Leora. She took my hand, the same way I had taken hers 2 days ago. What are you going to do? I looked at the television, where they were still showing his photograph. Younger him, harder him, the face before I had learned to read it. "I'm going to talk to him," I said. "And then?" I didn't answer. I didn't have one. I didn't call ahead. I went to the waterfront building, the one from the news, the one I'd driven past twice in a different context and never fully registered. And I told the man at the door that I was there to see Cassian Valtieri. The man looked at me for a very long time. Then he opened the door. I was brought through a lobby and up 2 floors and into a room that managed to be simultaneously spare and expensive. Dark wood, bookshelves, a window that looked out over the river. Cassian was at a table with 3 other men, and when I entered, the conversation stopped with the completeness of a switched-off light. He looked at me. I watched him take in my expression, my posture, the fact that I was there at all. He said something in Italian to the other men, quiet and final. They left without looking at me. "You saw the news segment," he said. "Yesterday. Leora saw it with me." He moved to the window, stood with his back to me, looking at the river. "I was going to tell you," he said. "When?" "When I was sure you'd stay long enough to hear the whole thing." "And how long would that have taken?" "Longer than 3 weeks." I pulled out a chair and sat down. My legs were less steady than I wanted them to be. "Tell me now," I said. "The whole thing. I want to understand what I've walked into." He told me, not quickly, not with apologies or framing or the careful self-presentation of a man trying to be liked. He told me the way people tell things when they have decided that accuracy matters more than outcome. The Valtieri family had controlled Manhattan's waterfront and a significant piece of its construction industry for 30 years. His father had built it. His uncle had almost destroyed it. Violence, exposure, federal attention. His father died when Cassian was 19, and Cassian had taken over at an age when most young men were still figuring out what they wanted to be. He had done what his father's enforcers said couldn't be done. Made the family quieter, smarter, less bloody. Not bloodless. He didn't lie to me about that. He said there had been men who needed to be removed. He said he had made decisions that he did not regret because they had kept his people alive. He said the federal photograph was from a time when he was less careful about being seen, and he had not been careless since. He told me about the legitimate side of the empire, the real estate, the construction contracts, the art consulting firm his sister Drusilla ran. He told me that the legitimate side was not a mask. It was a transition. That his plan, built over 15 years, was to hand the next generation a business that no longer needed to be defended with a gun. He told me he was 36 years old and he was tired. I sat with all of that for a long time. "The surgery," I finally said. "Did you do that because of what I was going to find out? To make me obligated or—" "No." "You said—" "I said I could fix it, so I fixed it. That had nothing to do with this conversation." He turned from the window. "I don't operate in debts with you. I'm not interested in your obligations, Sarah. I'm interested in—" He stopped. "In what?" Something moved across his face. Something unguarded, which I was beginning to understand was rare. "In you thinking of me the way you did that first night. Like I was simply a man." I stood up. I crossed the room. I did something that surprised both of us. I took his face in my hands. Not a kiss. Not yet. I just held his face between my palms and looked at him the way I looked at things I was trying to understand. The way I looked at old photographs, searching for what the light and shadow were actually saying beneath the surface. He let me. For a man who controlled an empire on the principle that he was never seen, never exposed, never simply looked at, he stood perfectly still and let me look at him, and something in those whiskey dark eyes was so honest it nearly undid me. "I'm not going to pretend this is simple," I said. "No." "And I'm not going to pretend I'm not scared." "I know. You should be, a little. It's the correct response." But I'm not leaving. He exhaled slowly. His hands came up to cover mine where they held his face, and he pressed them there, like he was making sure I was real. "Sarah," he said. Just that. I kissed him. Not a small kiss, not a careful one. The kind that comes from grief and terror and relief, and 3 weeks of wanting something so badly you've been pretending to yourself that you don't. The kind that has no preliminary and no politeness. He kissed me back with the particular attention of a man who had been thinking about this moment, who had been preparing for it the way he prepared for everything, completely. The river outside was very dark and very cold, and neither of us noticed. Comment below. Sarah chose to stay after learning the truth. Was that strength or the beginning of a fall? Drop your thoughts below.
Being with Cassian Valtieri was not like being with an ordinary man. I want to be clear about that. Not just because of who he was, what he ran, what he was capable of, but in the texture of daily life. The weight of his attention. The way a room shifted when he entered it. The way people looked at him and then immediately looked away, like staring at something powerful too long carried its own risk. I was photographing all of it. He knew. He didn't tell me to stop. I think it was the only version of himself he trusted me with, the one I saw through a lens where I couldn't possibly be pretending to be objective. December came in like a held breath. I moved between my studio and his world with the careful, calibrated balance of someone learning to live at altitude. I kept my studio. I kept my work. I kept Leora, who spent the first 2 weeks watching me with the expression of someone monitoring a weather system. Then she met Fabrizio Scarlatti. Fabrizio was Cassian's underboss, quiet, scarred, possessed of the particular humor of men who have seen too much and decided irony was the only reasonable response. He came for me at the studio once when Cassian was delayed, and he brought coffee and sat in my one good chair and asked me questions about photographic restoration with what turned out to be genuine interest. He told me, unprompted, he hasn't brought someone to the family since his 20s. And that ended badly, in ways I won't describe. You should know it means something that you're here.
How badly?
She left and took information with her, to a federal contact. The implication was clear. I looked at him.
I'm not going to do that.
I know, he said. If I thought you might, you wouldn't be in this studio right now.
The event was called a dinner. It was not a dinner. It was a negotiation, attended by people from 3 different families, conducted over a 6-course meal in the private room of a restaurant that Cassian owned under a holding company. I was the only woman present who was not staff. I wore a dark green dress that Cassian had sent to my apartment that morning with a single line of note. You don't have to come, but I would like you there. I came. I sat beside him and said very little and watched. I have always been good at watching, an occupational skill. You cannot restore something you have not first understood completely. A man named Esposito was there. Salvatore Esposito, flashy in a way that felt like compensation, with a watch that caught the light too eagerly and eyes that moved around the room like he was cataloging exits. He looked at me twice. The second time, he smiled. I had the distinct instinct, the kind I usually trusted, that his smile was directed at the idea of me, not at me. That I had become, in his calculation, a variable. I said nothing to Cassian until we were in the car. Then, Esposito is going to be a problem. He looked at me. What makes you say that? He looked at me like a man who just found a lever. A pause. Then Cassian said quietly to Fabrizio in the front seat, double the coverage at her studio, starting tomorrow. Fabrizio didn't ask why. 2 nights later, Cassian showed me the docks. Not the warehouse, the actual working docks, where cargo moved under lights that were turned strategically low, where men he trusted ran operations I didn't ask about in specific terms. He walked me through it the way you walk someone through something important to you, with the particular exposure of showing a person the things that make you real. He told me about the shipping routes, told me obliquely about what moved through them, told me which of it would stop when the transition was complete, and which of it was already legitimate. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because you deserve to understand what you're in the middle of. Not a summary, the actual thing. Most men in your position would keep this from the person they're with. Most men in my position keep everything from everyone. It works until it doesn't. When it stops working, it's catastrophic." He said it without self-pity, just factual analysis, the way he said most things. "You trust me," I said. It wasn't quite a question. "I don't trust easily," he said. "But yes, in the ways that matter. I trust you." We stood on the dock in the December cold, water black and restless below us, and he put his arm around me, not dramatically, not like a gesture, just a man putting his arm around the person beside him against the cold. And for a long moment, everything was very quiet. I took a photograph in my mind, stored it, the way I stored the things I couldn't afford to lose. In that moment, I understood, with a kind of clarity that arrives too late to be useful, that I was completely in love with him, and that someone was going to try to use that against us. I just didn't know yet who. Esposito came for Leora on a Wednesday. She was closing the bar alone, her usual practice, key in the door, city quiet the way it gets at 2 in the morning when only the serious people are still out. 3 men, professional. They knew her name and they used it politely while they put her in a car. She managed to send me a single text before they took her phone. 3 words. S. I'm sorry. I called Cassian while still running. He was on the line before I finished the first sentence. His voice, when I told him, dropped into a register I had not heard before, lower than his usual low, stripped of everything that wasn't operative information. "Where are you?" "Outside the bar. She's gone. They had a car." "Stop moving. Stay exactly where you are. Fabrizio is 4 minutes away." "Cassian, this is Esposito. I told you he was—" I know, Cara. Stay where you are." Fabrizio arrived in 3 minutes. He put me in the car without ceremony and took me to a location I didn't recognize. A private building, clean and quiet, 4 floors up, windows that looked out over a stretch of the city I couldn't immediately identify. He told me this was the secondary safe house. He told me Cassian was already moving. "He'll find her," Fabrizio said. "How long?" "We know where Esposito operates. We know the buildings. This is about forcing Cassian's hand, not about—" He paused, chose words carefully. "Not about anything permanent with Leora. She's leverage. That means she's alive." I understood the logic. It didn't help with the feeling. The call came at 4 in the morning. A man's voice I didn't know, smooth and careful, with the particular rhythm of someone who'd made this kind of call before. "Ms. Vale, Mr. Esposito would like to arrange a meeting. You, not Valtieri. Your friend is comfortable and will remain so as long as the conversation is civil." I said I would think about it. I had already decided. I did not tell Cassian. This is the part I have thought about most since. Whether it was brave or whether it was a kind of arrogance, the certainty that I could handle it, that I had something Cassian didn't, which was the ability to walk into a room as simply a woman and be underestimated. I had watched him operate for weeks. I had listened. I had asked questions that he answered, usually. I had come to understand that in his world, the deadliest moves were often the quietest, that overwhelming force was a last resort, that the leverage was almost always informational. And I knew something Esposito didn't know I knew. 3 months earlier, Cassian had shown me a photograph. Not one of mine, a surveillance image found on a man who had been sent to observe Cassian's operations. The man had been redirected. The photograph was of a meeting between Esposito and a federal agent whose name I recognized because Cassian had said it once, precisely, in a context I understood meant, "This person can damage us." The photograph, Cassian had said, was insured, kept in a location only 2 people knew. He had told me the location because I was one of those 2 people. I went to Esposito's club wearing the darkest dress I owned and a wire borrowed from a contact of Fabrizio's who didn't ask what I was planning. I had the photograph, a copy I had quietly made weeks before without telling anyone out of the instinct of a woman who had grown up without a safety net and had learned to build her own. Esposito received me in his private office, which was exactly as over-decorated as I expected. He was gracious, offered me a drink. Leora was in a room 2 doors down, which his man confirmed with the specific carefulness of someone confirming terms. He told me what he wanted: Cassian's withdrawal from the waterfront negotiations, public, documented. In exchange, Leora and my own safe exit from the Valtieri orbit. And if Cassian refuses? Mr. Valtieri won't get the chance to refuse. You're going to convince him. Or, I said, you recognize that you're the one without leverage here. He smiled the smile from the dinner, the lever-finding smile. Ms. Vale. I put the photograph on his desk. He looked at it, looked at me. The smile went away. That meeting never happened, he said. The federal agent is named Reyes. She has a daughter at a school in Prospect Heights and an undisclosed account in the Caymans. Everything in that image is documented in 3 separate locations. If anything happens to me, or to Leora, or to Cassian, that package gets opened by people you can't reach. Silence. You're a photographer, he said, like he was trying to understand how this had happened. I restore photographs, I said. I know exactly how to preserve what matters and bury what doesn't. You confused quiet with unarmed. That's your problem, not mine. He let Leora go 40 minutes later. I walked her out of that building with my hand steady and my heart hammering at approximately twice its normal rate. At the door, she looked at me. How did you? I'll explain later. Are we safe? For now. She nodded. Then, you're terrifying, Sarah. You know that? Genuinely terrifying. Cassian found out what I'd done approximately 4 hours later. I don't know exactly how. Fabrizio, probably, who seemed to have information the way certain people have a talent for music, just present and constant. When Cassian walked into the safe house at 7 in the morning, his expression was the kind of controlled that requires significant effort from the inside. He looked at me for a long time. You went to him alone. Yes. You had a plan I didn't know about. Yes. You had been holding that photograph for how long? 3 months. Something moved through his eyes. Not anger. I had braced for anger. Something more complicated. Were you planning to need it? Or were you just being careful? Just careful. Old habit. My mother used to say that the only person you could really depend on in a crisis was yourself. I think I believed her more than I realized. He sat down. For the first time since I had known him, he looked tired in a way that showed on his face. You could have been killed. He needed me functional. I was leverage until I became something else. That's a very thin margin. You operate in thin margins every day. That's different. How? He didn't answer. He looked at the middle distance for a moment. I don't know how to protect someone who is better at this than I planned for. Then stop trying to protect me from everything and start letting me stand with you. The question of how Esposito had known about Leora, had known her name, her bar, her closing schedule, sat in the room between us for days before it became undeniable. Someone inside had told him. Cassian ran the search quietly, the way he ran everything. Names against access, access against timeline, timeline against motive. He gave me none of this in real time. I understood that there were things he would protect me from, and a manhunt inside his own family for a traitor was one of them. I found out the answer the same way I found out most things. I saw it. I was in the building on an ordinary afternoon in January, using a quiet room to process some prints, when I heard voices in the hallway. Quiet, urgent. I recognized Cassian's voice, and then, after a moment, the other one. Tommaso Bellini. Tommy. Young, handsome, clever in the way of people who had spent their life using cleverness as currency. He had been with the family since childhood. Cassian's father had brought Tommy's father on, and the loyalty was supposed to be inherited. I couldn't hear the words. I heard the tone. Tommy was frightened. The specific, high-pitched frequency of someone who has been caught and is trying to control the shape of their catching. I heard Cassian say 3 words in Italian that I had learned by now. 3 words that meant, there is no version of this where you leave. I didn't tell Cassian I had heard. I understood that there were accountings in his world that happened outside the visibility of the people who loved him, and that understanding was part of what it meant to choose this life. Tommy Bellini was gone by the end of the week. No announcement, no explanation. Simply absent, in the particular way of people who had chosen the wrong side and been removed from the equation. Fabrizio told me once, he's alive. He's somewhere he won't cause problems. I accepted that. Barely. The consequence of the betrayal was a reckoning inside the family, a period of restructuring, of tightening, of Cassian working 18-hour days and coming home to me at the end of them with the specific exhaustion of a man who was rebuilding something he had trusted and found wanting. I was there. I showed up with food and silence and the ability to sit in the same room without needing him to perform. I photographed nothing during those weeks. I just was there. One night, he said, unprompted, I have been thinking about what you said, about standing with me. And I think I have been operating under the assumption that love requires keeping the people you love inside a smaller, safer version of your world. That protection means subtraction. Yes, that's what you've been doing. You're not safer for it. No. And you're not smaller for having seen what you've seen. If anything, he stopped, looked at me. If anything, you're harder to imagine my life without than ever, which is not what I expected exposure to produce. I laughed. Genuinely, unexpectedly, in a way that seemed to surprise both of us. Cassian Valtieri, I said, are you saying that the more I know about you, the more you want me around? I'm saying it with horror, he said, but yes. I kissed him, still laughing, and he held me like a man who had stopped pretending that control was something he had.
The last move against us came from a direction neither of us expected. Not Esposito, who had retreated into a wounded quiet after the photograph gambit. Not a rival family, not a federal investigation. It came from Drusilla Valtieri. Cassian's sister was everything the rumors suggested and nothing I had prepared for. Elegant, precise, cold in the way of people who have decided that warmth is a liability. She ran the legitimate art empire, the consulting firm, the gallery partnerships, the network of clean money that was supposed to be the family's future. She had built that future brick by brick over 15 years, and she had done it by being absolutely certain that her brother would never compromise the operation with an outside variable. I was the variable. She came to my studio without warning on a February morning when Cassian was upstate dealing with a construction matter. She looked at my work, really looked at it, with the attention of someone who knew what they were seeing, and said, "You're very good." "Thank you." "It would be a shame if the attention that's going to follow my brother's choices destroyed your career." I put down the print I was holding. "Say what you came to say, Drusilla." She said it with the efficiency of a woman who had rehearsed it. I was a liability. My independence made me unpredictable. My confrontation with Esposito, however effective, had demonstrated that I operated outside Cassian's control, and in their world, people outside control were risks. She was prepared to offer me, her word, a comfortable relocation. New city, new studio, completely established, generous financial foundation. She had already identified 2 options. She put a folder on my work table. "He won't stop loving you because you leave," she said. "He'll grieve it and he'll move on. He's survived worse losses than this. But if you stay and something happens to him because of what you represent, that loss is permanent." I sat with that. I want to be honest about it. I sat with it seriously. Not because Drusilla frightened me, but because she was not wrong exactly about the mathematics. There are people in the world for whom love is a liability, and Cassian Valtieri had been one of them for most of his life, and bringing me in had changed the calculation. I looked at the folder. 2 cities, 2 studios, everything laid out. I thought about the night on the dock, the way he had put his arm around me against the cold, without ceremony, without performance, as if it were simply the natural condition of 2 people standing close. I thought about a man who had spent 15 years building an empire alone, who had looked at me in the rain like I was something worth being careful about. "I appreciate your concern for your brother," I said. "I understand that you built the future he's supposed to inherit, and that I feel like a threat to it. I want you to hear me when I say, I'm not trying to destroy what you've built. I'm trying to understand how to be worth it." Worth is not the question. Actually, it's the only question. I pushed the folder back across the table. "Tell him I need to talk to him." She looked at me for a long time. Something shifted in her expression, not approval, but a kind of reluctant recalibration. "He'll choose you," she said. "You know that. He'll choose you over the practical answer every time. That's why I came to you instead of him." "I know," I said, "which is why I'm the one who gets to decide what I'm worth. Not you, not him. Me." He came to the studio that evening. I told him everything. Drusilla's visit, the folder, the offer, the conversation, all of it without editing. He was quiet through the whole account. When I finished, he said, "What did you decide?" "I decided that if I'm going to be someone's liability, I'd rather earn it." He looked at me for a long time. "I need you to understand something," he said.
I have spent my entire adult life arranging things so that nothing could be taken from me. Properties, people, information, all of it structured so that no single point of failure could bring down the whole. And then, you happened. That sounds like a complaint. It sounds like a surrender. He crossed the room. He did something I didn't expect. He sat on the floor, back against my work table, and reached up and took my hand where I was sitting above him. Not dramatic, not ceremonial, just down, reaching up toward me rather than standing over me. "I've been afraid," he said, "that loving you the way I love you means you become the thing that ends everything, the weakness in the structure. And I've decided I don't care. I've been building towards something safe for 15 years, and I finally have something worth building toward." I slid down off the table and sat beside him on the floor of my studio, surrounded by other people's rescued faces, with the developer fluid smell I always associated with coming home, and the sound of the city outside being ordinary and vast. He put his arm around me. I put my head on his shoulder. "Your sister is going to be a problem," I said. "She already called me. She said, and I quote, 'she'll do.'" High praise from Drusilla Valtieri. Exceptional praise. I've seen her describe a Caravaggio as adequate. The settlement with Esposito came 3 weeks later, a negotiated withdrawal from the contested waterfront, each party reducing exposure, Cassian keeping the properties that mattered, and Esposito keeping his life, which was the only currency in that conversation that meant anything. Fabrizio managed the details. Drusilla managed the paperwork. The federal photograph went back into secure storage. Leora's mother was home by February, recovering with the specific stubbornness of a woman who had been told to rest and interpreted that as a suggestion. The last photograph I have from that winter, the two of us in my studio, taken on a timer I had set up on a whim. Not posed. He's looking down at something in his hand, a print I had given him, one of the old photographs I had restored, a couple from 1943, the year before a war took one of them. I'm looking at him. My expression is visible in a way I wasn't trying to manage. That photograph sits on my desk now, not in a drawer, not put away. On the desk, in the light. She met a stranger in the rain. He was the most dangerous man in the city. She took his photograph and then deleted it because she thought that was the cautious thing. It turned out the cautious thing was not the point. She kept the memory. That was enough. And that's where I'll leave you, my love. With Sarah on the floor of her studio, with Cassian's arm around her, with the proof of them sitting in the light on a desk where she no longer needs to hide anything. Love in dark places doesn't always burn the house down. Sometimes it just illuminates what was already there. The fractures, the foundations, the things worth keeping. Sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the only one honest enough to tell you exactly what he is. And sometimes the woman who sees him clearly is the only person he's ever been safe with. If this story got under your skin, if you're sitting with it, turning it over, asking yourself what you would have done at any of those moments, then you know exactly why I keep telling these stories. And you know where to find the next one. Subscribe, drop a comment. Tell me which moment broke you. The darkness keeps coming. So should you.